So for those who don't know, which I find kind of hard to believe, but for those who don't know, VShojo imploded, which was not on my bucket list. I was kind of sus about them in general, but not like them personally, just in terms of the business model, because I had heard from other VTubers that you know, the contract didn't make a lot of sense to some people. No details obviously given, but the thing that kind of you know, I think started raising flags was obviously when a couple of people left. Hara left, Giga left, and people were like, okay, what's going on? And it sounded like, well, you know, there's some business side stuff. You're like, okay, well, kind of makes sense. You don't really need them, which we'll get to. And then, yeah, it turns out they have been effectively stealing, is what the allegations all talk about. And obviously, everyone's heard about Wham to Iron Mouse, which, you know, obviously $500,000 to charity, big deal, plus whatever else they owe. But it's just not Mouse, apparently. It is basically everybody else under VShojo, including all the people who were about to be debuted. There was a whole bunch of like 6 other, I don't know how many VTubers who were also set to debut, who have also been screwed over. And the thing is about this controversy, to kind of make it clear, like, this isn't just like controversy. If this is, you know, if this was just they owed the people money, this probably, okay, maybe falls into criminal act. I am not a lawyer. I think legal might have done, or legal mindset might have done something about this. But it's also the fact they basically scammed out a charity, which is a huge no-no. Scamming out a charity is going to get the IRS on your ass. So I'm going to expect all the lawyers involved, and from what I heard, all the lawyers are involved. But the fear is that, at least from my gut feel, I don't think they're getting anything back, because I suspect that VShojo has been functionally bankrupt for at least 9 months, from what I'm hearing. And they've probably been in trouble for like at least a year and a half. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, I think the fact that, you know, this scanned mouse, like a low blow, etc., and we don't know why. I think the general theory at the moment is that they probably ran into financial mismanagement, and they basically kind of pyramid schemed where they used the money that had come in, because a lot of the way these work is money comes in, and then you have like a credit, like a debtor to pay, but that debtor probably has like a 60-day leeway or whatever it is. I don't know exactly how it works, but you'll have like a 60-day where you have to pay it back. And so in that 60-day, they're going to use that money that's currently on their books to therefore fund something else. But maybe that thing falls short. Well, then suddenly they're now owe money and they can't pay it off, and they were expecting money to pay it off, but it didn't happen. And now they're like, oh shit, I'm going to have to, you know, roll the ball forward and keep rolling it. And then basically you're just, it's the equivalent of, I have a credit card I need to pay off. I'm going to get another credit card to pay off that other credit card. And they're just rolling it until it all collapses. And that sounds like what's happened. And by collapses, I mean, it's been collapsed for a while. Hence, they've not been paying anybody for a while. Like, this isn't, they just found out last month. This is 6 months at least, no pay. Which is where I'm going to get to this other part. But what I will say, by the way, is I am, as much as this makes me sad and disappointed, I am so proud of this community, right? Which has rallied for Mouse, rallied for the girls, and rallied for the charity. And they've raised, I think last time I checked, $1.1 million, which is crazy. It's crazy. And if you haven't donated and you can donate, please do. I donated a little bit. I won't say how much because this isn't even a little bit just shows that, like, as bad actors that exist, I think fundamentally people are good. Even the people who scammed here likely did not start off with the I'm gonna screw these girls over. It likely started with a mistake to cover a mistake to a panic to therefore, end up happening what happening. Now that's no excuse, but generally I believe that most people aren't like evil, right? Which doesn't excuse what's happened, but generally people do what they think is right. People make mistakes. Now, this is a hell of a lot of mistake, which likely carries jail sentence, from what I understand. But fundamentally, that's the thing. And I think a lot of discourse has happened after this, obviously with the stuff around Niji EN, where a lot of people are like, don't need agencies. Agencies are all scams. Agencies are terrible. Don't join an agency. They provide no value. The talents are all the values. Only support the talent, never support the org, whatever. Which, I get the backlash. But it is a very childish take, in my view. As someone who's worked for corporations for a while, and someone my dad works self-employed, there are pros and cons to being self-employed versus working for, let's say, an agency. And those advantages are not to be understated. There are a reason why people really want to join Hololive, even still. There's a reason why people will still join agencies. I think there's a few things here. Number one, this is a problem just generally in the entertainment industry, but it's like any creative industry. There's huge demand for people to want to join creative industries, and they will basically sacrifice or ignore red flags to do so. If you talk to anyone trying to join Hollywood, like, there were many who would basically like give up 90% of their profits to potentially become famous. It's why, a lot of record artists, right? If you hear about terrible record deals where they were really famous, but then they never made any money, or they retired broke, like Michael Jackson, even Taylor Swift has been redoing her record deals from what I sort of understand. I don't know the full details, but there's a reason why she's doing what she's doing. And it's because desperate young, especially people, will just sign whatever they can. And I think a business is a business. And that goes both ways. It means that they will treat you like, and it doesn't have to be they will treat you like a number, but their job is to make profit. But at the same time, the onus is on the individual that they read their contract, they consult a lawyer, and understand that you're using them as well. You don't join. I mean, obviously some people do. They maybe they want to join Holo or whatever other organization phase because they love the girls, they want to be part of that, whatever. But ultimately, it's a business decision. If you're a content creator to join these organizations, I'm sure a lot of, let's say, medium-sized indies, if they join something like Holo, they probably wouldn't make much more money at the end of the day. In reality, they may actually not make much more money because of all the cuts. YouTube takes a cut, Cover takes a cut, whatever. But the opportunities, like to be embedded in all the merchandise, to have those giant concerts, whatever, like that also cannot be stated. To have the management support cannot be understated, right? Like, imagine this had happened when, I don't know, imagine something like this happened to in Cover, right? The girls would not have to, or the guys would not have to manage lawyers, right? Cover would do that on their behalf. That would be offered. All the girls now in VShojo, ex-VShojo, have to deal with lawyers. They have to deal with overhead. They have to deal with the stress. And I feel for someone like Mouse, who has a huge, immune system, a problem where like that's going to take a toll on your health. So there's benefits to being, in a corporation. At the same time, there is absolute truth that the talents are the main draw, and without the talents, the org is nothing. And so that's also on the talent's responsibility to understand what their worth is. Understand your worth, right? Feel free to negotiate. There's stories now coming out of people like Shy Lily, who got to contract negotiation, didn't like the contract, goes, I'm worth more than this. You need me more than I do at this point, based on what you're offering me. No. And that's part of the reason why I think, some of the other girls left, like Giga, where they were like, I kind of brought you in to help me with the business side, but really, actually, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. All right. And so I think we need to have a mature conversation around corporations where you have to treat the corporations as corporations. Treat them as what they are. And you can still have a good time. You can still enjoy the people. You can still like your co-workers, whatever. But it's a job. And you treat it like a job. Like, if I work in my current work and they were like, hey, we're not going to pay you in 6 weeks, but we promise we will. I'm not going to just sit there and go, yeah, I get it. We're a family. I'll sack it. No. You're going to turn around and go, no, pay me the money or I'm leaving and I'm suing your ass. Because a well-run org, a well-run company should not have that kind of cash flow problem. And if they do, they certainly should be prioritizing their talents to get paid. Because again, the job is to keep them happy. So I think that, again, it's a matter of standing up. And like this is not victim blaming in any way, but it's a discussion of maturity that needs to happen in the content creator space, which is what's happened over in the Hollywood space. I mean, you just hear stories of things like child actors got hugely taken advantage of to the point where they had to create new laws, right? And even not child actors, even regular actors get taken advantage of in many ways. Like, there's a maturity that needs to happen in the space where it's like, an understanding of what is normal in a contract, what is normal to be expected, and what is not normal, right? Was it the 2% meme? I can't remember what it was about, for those leaving Niji with their like only getting like 2% of merch or some crazy, like, I don't remember what the thing was, but it was some absurd thing where like you should just be like, no. And I know, for example, like, look, like people have left Hololive, for example, and some of it's been creative decisions, etc. But you've not heard any like huge backlash against Holo from the talents, because they understood it was basically a business decision from their point of view. They were like, I want to go indie. I don't want to do all these big things. Or, hey, like, I disagree. Like, there was none of it, I was treated badly, or they stole from me, or anything like that. They just want to do something different even. And that's fine. Like, that's normal. If anyone's ever worked a normal job, you leave your job to go do something new. And it doesn't even mean that you hate the people. Like, in my team, I'm going to talk about what my current work is. In my current work, I've had 2 people leave. And there was nothing my company could have done to keep them. And it wasn't about the company, it was about what they wanted to pursue. And really, that was fine. There was no bad blood. We're still like chatting, right? So I really don't think that, like, obviously we should look at everything case by case, but this, not all orgs are evil. They have their place. Now, do I think, like, how many VTubers should be in orgs? I honestly think that the majority should not. Because I don't think a small org, personally, would give the benefits that would pay off. Now, maybe, or rather, you certainly shouldn't be giving large chunks to small orgs, because what they could provide you is much smaller than, let's say, a big org. With a big org, maybe you want to give them a bigger cut, because actually, even though your margin's smaller, your revenue expands so much that actually overall you take more money, right? I think about it. Like, even if, like, let's say, yeah, I mean, they definitely did. But again, like, if you listen to what Shy Lady's talked about, and it's well worth it listening to what her thoughts on how the contract negotiation went. She did it exactly how she did. She approached it with, this is what I want. This is what I believe you could give me. Mutual, whatever. She got to the contract negotiation. the promises were not in writing, and for the love of God, let me put this, like, I will reiterate this. If it's not in writing, it never happened. If you work in a job and your boss says, oh yeah, you'll get promoted next year, and it's not in writing, they will turn around in a year and they will not give it to you. Okay, I'm not saying that they won't, but that promise is worthless. It's not written down. So get it in the contract, because it's like, you know, it's like people talk about prenup. It's like, look, you don't plan for shit to happen. You don't plan to get divorced. But if you do get divorced, there's safety. And there's safety for both sides, right? It means that you guys don't, like, neither side has to worry about trust. Because trust is a very fickle thing, right? And this whole idea of, like, you know, oh, no, we don't need to put in a contract. We work on a trust basis, which is what I think, I don't remember if it was Shy Lily or whatever, someone said about what VShojo, the person negotiating the contract, said. Like, that's a red flag. So they have their place corporations. You know, the work that Hololive and Base Connect doing seems to be pretty good, right? And even on the Niji Sanji side, right? At least on the JP side, that seems to be running decently, from what I hear. Like, there was no max essence over there. And I get there's cultural differences and all that kind of stuff, and we don't know the full detail. But this is not the end of corporations. But I hope it is a big kick up the butt for those looking to join corporations to be a lot more aware of what's in the contracts and to honestly demand what their worth is. Because again, the best deal is one that both benefit from. Should not be predatory. And there's no benefit in being predatory, because if you're predatory on somebody, it's not a very long-term business plan, because they'll leave and then they'll talk badly about you. So that's my thought. Those are my thoughts on the situation. And I think, you know, where I think things go from now, obviously there'll be, yeah, that's another obviously situation. Now, where things will go, I don't know. There'll be lawyers, whatever. This is not the end of corporations. They have their place. This is definitely the end of VShojo. And again, I feel so badly for the talents. I feel bad for the talents who were joining, right? Mint was, I think, effectively kind of part of it for like a year. Didn't get paid either. The artists who didn't get paid, although again, Iron Mouse, bless her soul, says she'll cover that. And she's, you know, reaching out to artists, etc. And again, I'm just gonna say, and I said this earlier, massive props to the community. They stood behind them. They've raised a huge amount of money. And, you know, it just shows that there is always hope to be taken from bad situations. And that, again, fundamentally, everyone's just here to have a good time and do what they love. So, you know, I hope this is the last controversy. It will not be. But I hope now that, you know, those maybe in those situations similar, currently maybe with some other orgs, they get out. And hopefully those looking to join orgs are a lot more careful when they do so. So that's pretty much my thoughts. And I'll just leave it there. But yeah, thank you for listening to my TED Talk.